Hi, welcome to episode 3. So, today I want to talk a little bit about how I got into hairdressing and how I became a salon owner because it really does give the background of why I'm doing what I'm doing now and how I kind of followed the path to get to here. So, I didn't actually know I wanted to be a hairdresser. I had always done a lot of art growing up. I was always into ceramics, photography. I talked a lot about my grandma before and just how she always, every summer, she had some amazing art project for my two other girl cousins and myself. And so we would, one year over the summer, we learned how to make necklaces. And one year we learned how to crochet and knit sweaters. And we we always did something fun and different with her, and it was always such a really calming time of my life, that summer project that I had, and I just felt so good about it. And then once I was in school and I was getting into my fourth grade, fifth grade, school was a challenge for me. It just was really hard for me to kind of stay focused and really continue with the basic academic tasks that most of us have to kind of just get through. So for my mom, who is someone who, she knew me better than I thought, she kind of dangled the carrot, the art carrot in front of me throughout school. And she just basically supported me as best as she could, or she knew how at the time. And she said, you don't need to get straight A's. Like, I'm not expecting you to be perfect in school, but do your best. And at least if you get B's and C's, I'll put you in art classes. Just try to stay focused. Try to just stay on task. And at least you'll have something outside of school that we can kind of get you excited about. So that was always my out growing up. So I did design class, drawing, like architectural drawings. I did that when I was in high school, and I loved all of it. It was the time that I felt like I could focus and I could really dive into this part of me that I hadn't really ever known before art. So, fast forward, we get to high school, and I was the type of person who had naturally long blonde curly hair. So, I wasn't the kid who got a haircut very often, never really had any sort of salon experiences when I was young. So, I didn't really understand what it meant to go get my hair done. And for those of you who remember when women would get their hair highlighted with the cap, my dad would highlight my mom's hair with a cap at our kitchen table. He used one of my mom's crochet hooks to hook her hair out of the cap, and then he would bleach her head. And that's how my mom got her hair done. I don't ever remember her going and getting a haircut. Like, it wasn't a regular thing that she did. So that was my experience with hairdressing, or my own belief around it. It was just like, you get your haircut once a year, and really it's just to kind of shape it and move on. There wasn't any frills or anything about it. So by the time I get to high school, I'm really actually excited about having curly hair. It was easy to do. I would scrunch and go. Everybody seemed to love it. I got a lot of compliments on having long, pretty curly hair. But other than that, that was kind of as far as my appreciation for my hair went. So I want to say it was probably prom when I was a senior. I started learning about makeup, and I started to see makeup as another form of art. And I would have all my girlfriends come over, and I was cheerleader, so we would always do our hair and our makeup for cheerleading. And I just started playing around with my friends' hair and makeup. And over time, I realized I was actually pretty good at it. And my girlfriends would ask me if I would do their hair for them and ask me if I could do their makeup. So I had no training or anything, but I utilized all of the tools that I had learned in art and kind of applied it to doing hair. So, and makeup. So it was just kind of an accidental coincidence that I seemed to be doing all right at that point. Then for prom, I did a couple of my girlfriend's hair and makeup, and that turned out great, and everybody was super happy. And so that felt good. But it wasn't until I was looking into going to college, I really wasn't super committed to a career path. I had always thought I would be believe it or not, a lawyer because I loved looking at both sides of things and I like to argue and I like to prove a point. And my family would always make fun of me being the younger kid. I like to kind of stake my case in order to be right. So that was kind of a joke, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, am I supposed to be a lawyer? Like, just because I like to argue? Like, I didn't really know if that was even really the direction I was meant to go. So I don't know if any of you have ever, questioned what you want to do or where you want to go or even where you want to live. But to me, I had all of these questions getting out of high school and I was really kind of scared. Like, what if I don't go to college? What if I don't know what I want to do? What am I supposed to do now? So, I really didn't plan to go anywhere. So I kind of hung back and I had a girlfriend. She actually moved to Santa Barbara and decided that she was going to get her undergrad at UCSB or Santa Barbara City, excuse me. And, she kept begging me, come visit, come visit. You should just come visit. Oh my God, I wish you could live down here. But, I had a pretty traditional family that wasn't really open to sending me to college when I didn't really earn it and when I didn't have a set path. So my mom and dad were kind of like, well, why are you going? If you don't know why you're going, we're not going to just pay for you to experience life. And so that was kind of a harsh reality when most of my friends went off to college and I did not. So I decided to hang back. I worked at a couple different restaurants in town and I went to College of Marin and I decided to just focus on getting my undergrad. And I felt like it was an opportunity for me to kind of figure out what I was doing. But ultimately, in that year and a half that I was home and I was going to community college, I didn't really find anything that felt like it fit. It wasn't until I went to Santa Barbara to go visit my girlfriend to just go party with her for the weekend and take some time away from being home, that I saw just even what life would be like to leave home for the first time. So, I had a great weekend. I met a bunch of her roommates and it was super fun. But ultimately, I was like, "What? Well, how am I going to justify wanting to move away if I don't really have the grades and I still don't have a set path?" So after that weekend, it kind of sparked a little bit of like a bug. Like, okay, I really like not being home. There is this opportunity. That friend had a roommate that would be moving out of their group and they asked me to move in. And so this opportunity kind of presented itself shortly thereafter me leaving. And I felt like I needed to take it. But up until that point, like I had no motivation or drive to study anything. So I kind of went home and I talked to my parents and I said like, hey, I've been doing the College of Marin thing. I've stayed home. I tried City College. It didn't really do much for me. I'm just working. I was working at like two different jobs. I didn't really focus on school enough to really give it a good go. So I kind of told my parents, like, I'd like to try this out. I'll go to the City College in Santa Barbara and just give myself the opportunity to be in a different environment and see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out and I can't get the grades to prove that it's worth me being here, then I'll come home. So, my parents were pretty hesitant initially and they didn't really feel like I had a strong sense of purpose in going down there. But I think they could see that I really just needed a change of scenery to hopefully shake things up a little bit and get a better idea of what I wanted to do. So we had some conditions to me going down there, and I decided I was going to go. So I moved mid-semester into the second year of college, or what it would be. So right away, I decided I was going to take some classes that I was excited about and interested in, and not just the basics or what general ed I was supposed to take. So I took a film class. I think I took a interpersonal communications class, and then two other classes that obviously weren't that important because I can't remember what they were. But I really enjoyed that first semester, and I decided I wanted to apply myself and really focus. So that semester, I did the best I've ever done in school. I got straight A's, and my mom was like, "Who are you? And how did you get these grades?" So I think it was the first time I actually proved to myself that I could set my mind to something that wasn't as easy for me as I thought, but really push through and persevere and do the work to get the accomplishment that I was looking for, which were the grades, to prove to my parents that being down there was worth it. So here we are, one semester in, I'm feeling pretty good. And then I decided to get a part-time job that summer before the next year. And I had learned about Brooks Photography School, that was a place in Santa Barbara. And I was super excited about that potential idea of, hey, I'm down here. If I keep going to school, that might be my next step. But in the meantime, I'm just going to get a part-time job, and I'm going to see, if I can save up some money for next school year. I'm going to really apply myself, and then we'll see how it goes. So I looked in the newspaper at the time where to get jobs, and there were only two options of opportunity for me. It was a receptionist at a hair salon, or I think I was like a concierge, or potentially a concierge at the Fess Parker Doubletree. So right away I was like, I think a reception at a salon sounds good, but I had never really been in a salon, so I didn't even really know what that meant. So I went to both places, and instantly when I got to the salon, I felt like, wow, this feels good. This feels like a place I could see myself working. And then after I left the salon, just to kind of check it out, I decided I was going to drive by the hotel, and I was going to see what that would be like. And it was also pretty instant. Like, I drove up and was like, I don't even want to do this. This is not something that I could even see myself making money on or any of that. So I pretty much decided that the salon was the opportunity and the option that I had, and that's what I was going to focus on. So I kind of hunted down the owners. I begged them essentially to get me an interview. And when I finally went to the interview with my said potential boss, she kind of blew me off and was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. The position's been filled, but we can take your information and we can reach out to you if something comes available." But something I learned when I was young, my dad always told me, if you have something of value to offer, go work there for a week. Tell them it's unpaid. And if they don't like what you're doing, hey, don't pay me. So that's pretty much what I did. I showed up. I said, "Hey, look, I know you hired this other person, but I really think I could be of value to you. How about I work for you for a week? And if I don't have something that you're looking for, no harm, no foul. I got to work with you for a week. I got to learn about this experience and environment that I knew nothing about prior. So it would have been a good learning experience for me. And then we'll go about our merry way." So the owner at the time was like, "Okay, this girl's crazy. I don't know, but sure. The new girl doesn't start for another 2 weeks. We'll give you a shot." So I found myself in a salon for the first time. I didn't know how to even conduct myself in a salon. So I just kind of went into it wholehearted, like, I'm going to give it my best and see how I do. And within that first week, I got to see my mentor and how he conducted himself with his guests, and the way he looked at doing hair, and how it was an artistry in and of itself. I was so amazed by how his clients felt after he did what he did to show them about their hair and educate them about how they could be and what they could look like and what their potential was based on his artistry. And it was like, just, I can't even, it's hard to even describe just like the awareness that I grew in just that week, and how I went from not really knowing anything about what a salon is about to, oh my God, I think this is a really cool career, and how I didn't even see it as an option is kind of sad because I just didn't know, I mean, I'm from the school of thought, like people went to beauty school and they would learn at school, and then they would go and they would kind of fight their way through until they could build their clientele. I really didn't have a lot of understanding of the industry up until that point. So I finished out my week with the salon, and he hired me on the spot on the last day. And he let the other girl know that he was going to go ahead and move with hiring me, and we were going to go through a trial period, and we were going to see just where things went. So at this point, I'm feeling really great. It's like, wow, here I had no idea what salon life would even be like. And now I've created this opportunity out of thin air. I've moved to Santa Barbara out of thin air. Like these things just kind of happened. And I just kind of went with the path of least resistance. And I think that's my point and the lesson in all of this for me. Like I really trusted my gut, and I went with what felt right. And I tried really hard to be honest with myself, like about all of these moves that I was making, because they were big moves. I mean, for an 18, 19-year-old, like I don't know why I would go move, a couple hundred miles away, and what I'm doing and getting a random job, like, oh, okay. I mean, but I had the support from my family to try and to just give it a go. And I think that that's really special. And I'm so grateful because I really didn't have a lot of fear around what I was doing because I didn't know not to. So it turned into this amazing experience and just the most magical transition in my life. Not everybody is as fortunate as I am to just fall into a career and actually love it. I think when you get out of high school, you're expected to go to college. You're expected to study all these things that you don't even know if it's going to stick or you really embody why you're going. So for me, this like tripping over a salon life and culture was a blessing. So I dove 2 feet in. I decided, okay, I'm going to work at the salon. I'm going to learn about their makeup, which there was like a beautiful makeup unit that nobody had touched. It was just kind of sitting there. And the owner had said, hey, we do also sell makeup, but nobody really does it. Would you be interested? And, I kind of thought about going back to my prom days and just doing makeup just because it was fun and an art. And so I started cleaning up the makeup unit, and I started to look at what we had and what was in stock. And I just started selling makeup, and I wasn't formally trained. It was just like, I keep putting makeup on these clients and they seem to like what I'm doing. And then I started to get these random freelance jobs doing makeup for events on these clients when I was just getting a job as a front desk at this point. So like, okay, this seems to be working out. And then over the course of those few months of me working at the salon, I discovered there was an opportunity to become an apprentice and work hands-on full-time at the salon under the mentorship of the owner of the salon, in which he would mentor and train and teach me everything I needed to know about hair to be able to go ahead and get my license at the end of the 2-year program and become a hairdresser. So once this opportunity presented itself, it was like, oh my God, I think I've figured out what I'm going to do. It was like the right place at the right time. And I just decided I'm going to lean into it. And so, I call my parents and I'm like, hey, I'm going to do this thing. I've decided I want to be a hairdresser. And of course, they're like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What are you talking about? I thought you were going to potentially go to photography school. I thought you were trying to get your general ed. Like, how are we now getting into hairdressing? And why can't you do that here where we live? So my answer was pretty simple. Like, you know what? I'm at the right place, the right time. I just so happen to be here. I've found this mentor. He's this amazing artist. I need to learn from him. And I don't know if this opportunity is available anywhere else. So I'm just going to go for it. And I would really hope to get your support and be able to do what I need to do to give this a go. And of course, my parents kind of begrudgingly were like, oh, okay, now we have to support you while you live down there. It really would be great if you could do it up here, but we kind of get what you're saying. So of course, my parents were like, this will be your college. We will support you. But when you are done with this program and you get your license, then you want to go back to college, that's on you. So I was so confident at that point that this was something that I felt like I needed to do, that I took the deal. I was like, all right, just help me get my license and then the rest is up to me. So that's basically where it all started. I just started obsessing and absorbing everything that his name is Darren had to offer. And I felt like it was so important that I soak in every aspect of this opportunity I could. He had me driving to LA once a week, doing classes, learning from other educators. Before I even got my license, I was doing more and more education and, traveling all over to be able to learn from different artists so that I could really make sure that I was having a well-rounded education in the hair industry. So this was my first love of hair. And I just can't even say enough about what a cool experience it was to be able to fall into it, find my passion, and then be able to turn it into what it is now. So here we are. I'm in Santa Barbara. I worked there for, I want to say 3.5 more years. I had a great clientele by the time I was done. I was doing a lot of educating myself at that point. I really leaned in. And then I kind of got to that point where I realized Santa Barbara wasn't where I wanted to live permanently. And I missed my family, and coming from this large family, we're all very close. We all spent a lot of time together, dinners and all the things. So I felt like it's really hard for me to be this far. So I moved back home thinking I was going to build a clientele and be in my hometown. But in the midst of doing that, I kind of had a little bit of a panic moment where I realized, oh my God, I just left home and I came right back. And it was kind of scary because everything in my hometown had stayed the same, but I was different. I had changed. I had these 4 years of experience that, shaped who I then was coming back. But then I'm running into people I hadn't seen, and I was feeling like, oh my God, did I make a mistake in coming home? So once again, I kind of found this opportunity to move to New York for a, open-ended period of time. And I had a cousin there, and she was like, hey, you can live with me. Try doing hair here. Maybe it's something that you'll get into, and maybe it's just another stepping stone. So my hope in moving to New York was to get out of my comfort zone, learn a new community, new area, new demographic, and to get more skill under my belt before I ultimately decided to live in my hometown. So I moved to New York. I had $1,000 in my pocket. I knew my cousin. She gave me a room to rent, and she was like, "Hey, we'll get you a job. I'll connect you with some people. I'll show you how to get around on the subway, and you just kind of got to get a job while you're here." So that's kind of what I did. I got there, I learned the subway system, and I decided maybe I'll just get a restaurant job until I find my salon home. So I went out, I got the first job I could, and then I started to support myself while I researched salons in New York. And, for those who have this grandiose idea of New York City and doing hair, I was all about like Fashion Week, and I want to do all of this artistry around the fashion shows, and, the celebrity, all of that was so exciting to me, but it wasn't exactly the reality that I found myself in when I was in New York. So I made some connections. I worked at 2 different salons, and it was an amazing experience. And I had some time working with other artists on Fashion Week, but ultimately it was exactly the opposite of my experience when I was in Santa Barbara. It was like right career, wrong place. So while I'm in New York, I'm like, you know what? I love doing hair. I just don't love doing hair here. So I lived in New York for about 10 months. And then it was like, you know what? This isn't it. And this doesn't feel right. Amazing experience. So ultimately, that kind of hard turn in the wrong direction is what led me back to my hometown. So, with all that experience and knowledge and trial, I came back home and I decided, okay, now I'm going to do the thing, and I'm going to do it in my town. I'm going to take my time, I'm going to build my clientele, and ultimately find my forever home. So, I kind of got right to it. I found a salon that I felt like I could really dive into. I was excited about the work I was doing. I was putting myself out there. I was, hey, running into women at the grocery store. I'd love to do your hair. Do you have anybody to do your highlights? Can I, you know, uh, cut your hair? And just kind of wanted to build experience and kind of get my name out there. And then I realized I didn't love the experience that my clients were getting in the salon I was working in. There wasn't anything wrong with the salon, it was nice enough. But because I had a standard from my original salon experience that I learned my skill from, that was the expectation that I had when I worked in any other salon. And when I couldn't find that, I was so frustrated because I now had an expectation that nobody really seemed to be able to live up to. And I didn't want to judge other salon owners or, you know, feel like I was, hey, can we do this, or can we add that, or can we clean this up over here? I just felt like, you know what, some people are not as professional in the way they communicate, or the conversation was catty. And I felt like it just wasn't a positive environment for me to work in. So here I am again in an experience where I'm not actually getting what I'm looking for. And I felt like maybe it's time I create my own space and control my experience and my environment for my guests that I am trying to attract. So I decided I was going to open a salon, and at 26, whether I knew what I was doing or not, and I definitely did not, I decided I was going to do it and give it a go. And I had so much family support. My brother helped me build the space. My mom and dad were right there by my side, cheering me on, and, telling me, hey, if you don't know something, you can figure it out. If you don't have an answer, there's somebody who does and somebody who will help. So I just kind of kept moving along with what felt right. And Balancio was born. So, it hasn't all been easy and it hasn't been exactly what I would have thought, but I just kept going with what felt right and trusting my gut and allowing, my core family to support me in the way that they had always done. And I decided to trust myself and I just went for it. So, um, here we are. It's been 20 years. This is my second location. I've since moved from my first location, and it hasn't all been easy, but I wouldn't have had it any other way because the amount of learning that I have gained and can take with me whatever I do and wherever I go is insurmountable. So, I mean, I think that is really why I feel so strongly about being that hype girl to any other stylist that's starting out or maybe has been doing hair for a few years and they don't know where to go or where they fit in, or they feel like they work at salons with this catty, gossipy environment that they just don't feel good in. I will tell you what, my salon, we don't do catty. We don't do gossip. I don't allow that. That's not something that is a part of who I am and I will tolerate, because I don't feel like that has a place in my space. And not all salons are that way. And that's totally okay. Everybody does what works for them. But I want to take that time and energy and I want to focus it on the person in my chair. I want to focus on the girls who are in my salon, whether they're learning from me, whether they're my apprentices, which I've now had several and have been able to give back the experience that I was given and learn hair with my support, or if they're just stylists who really just feel like they want a forever home and they want to be able to push themselves to grow to be better. So this is how I got to where I am. And if you didn't know, now you do. And if you want to know more, you can follow me along my journey. And I hope this was informative and insightful. And if you have any questions, you can find me on Instagram at Bay Area Hair. You can find me here. And with that, I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.